Alright, here we go. Lights, camera, and action. Good morning, everybody. How's everyone doing today? I hope y'all are doing as good as I am. It's a beautiful Saturday out here. Welcome back to the channel. As always, I'm your host, Jesse. We're going to continue on with our series, What Would You Have Done Had You Were in My Shoes? It seems like this series is getting a lot of good attention here. Some bad, okay? But I'm getting a lot of good feedback from you guys. I really appreciate it. It's helping drive me on and helping remember these stories. And it puts a real good perspective from other individuals versus mine of who would have done what. And today's story is going to be about a situation where I was working with a fellow officer and an inmate was able to get in between us. All right. This officer I was working with, his name was Campbell. I really enjoyed working with this guy. Okay. Anytime I was in shift turnout and I heard our names assigned, we knew it was going to be a good day. All right. 90% of the time, we had really good times in the dorms. I keep saying dorms. We had really good times in the pods. This particular situation was not one of those days. It was an awful day. All right. Some of the good times that we had, we would force ourselves to hydrate. Okay. Right when you first walked in, there was a stainless steel table, I guess you'd call it, about the size of a TV tray, and there were two seats bolted to it. We'd set our plastic bottles on there. First, we'd fill them up with the lukewarm water that came out of the sink. We'd set our bottles there, and after we made a round of the entire tier, we forced ourselves to drink one of those. All right, forced hydration. We wore them damn stab vests, and even though there was air conditioning in SIG, it still got hot. All right, and the days that it didn't work, guys, it was like a medieval dungeon, just a miserable ass cave inside that thing. So we forced ourselves to drink water. All right, forced hydration. We communicated really good with each other. We had code words for each other. If something wasn't going right, we had a word with each other. If he was talking to an inmate and he wasn't getting through, I would take over. If I was talking to one and I wasn't getting through, I'd say something like red ink, and then he would take over. All right, we tag in and out just to get things done. So, good times, okay? Now let's get to the bad shit. This was just an absolute awful, awful day. We're working D-Pod. And as I've talked about in previous videos, D-Pod inmates fucking hated me. They absolutely hated me. And that's fine. They should. Inmate, corrections officer. You're not supposed to like each other. Okay? They had a particular dislike for me. I think it's kind of funny nowadays. In this particular situation, we're feeding trays. Okay? As soon as we walked in the pod, man, the place just erupted. I don't know who set them off, what set them off. They were just having a particularly bad day. And who are they going to take it out on? The COs. Okay. We did our round. We chugged our water. And by the second time that we made our round, where we were getting ready to start pulling inmates out, we knew the day was just going to be an absolute disaster. First guy we went to take out, he already jacked the slot. Man, he stuck his hand through the food slot. He's already jacking it. You're like, man, first fucking cell, here we go. All right, we get that taken care of, and we're trying to go about our day. All right, we get lunch trays. Lunch was just an absolute disaster. We were short on trays. We were short on the nasty-ass flavor beverage we're supposed to serve out. They didn't even bring any milk that day, which was supposed to be for the diet trays. Hydration. We had to make extra trips back and forth to the kitchen to get that stuff squared away. Lunch should have only taken an hour. It took way longer than it was supposed to. The guys that were in the day room, they'd been in the day room way longer than they were supposed to. Guys were stuck in the shower. We were doing everything that we could to try and get this situation right, and it just wasn't happening. We should have locked it down, okay? Should have just pulled the dudes out, put them in the cells, just shut everything down, called the supervisor, let him and the warden figure it out. But that wasn't how me and Campbell worked, all right? We were going to try to power through. We wanted everything to run the way it was. We knew each other's stride. We knew how each other worked. It just wasn't happening on this day, man. It just, that day you wake up and you're ready to get everything going, and just one thing after another just starts breaking down. That was today. If that day would have been a car, you stick the key in and turn it, the check engine light, the oil light, the tire pressure monitoring system, everything would have come on. All right, it was just awful. Let's go ahead and get to this situation here. All right, this incident involved the guy that I talked about why I resigned, the one who had tossed the tray out of his cell. I wrote him up, and then he had made a makeshift shank. Next time he got out of the cell, if I was in there, he was going to kill me. That was this guy. This was before all of that happened. All right, this was leading up to it. We're serving trays. We're serving dinner trays at this point. He was on the lower tier. He was all the way at the end next to the fire escape door, and right back behind me, as close as this wall is behind me, which is arm length away. That was where the day room bars were. 2 other cells were where the day room bars were. And then that would have been 14, 13, 12. When you got to number 11, you had some moving space back there behind you. But 12, 13, 14, you were hemmed in by the day room bars behind you. You didn't have much room to back up there. So he goes over to this guy, and he's getting ready to serve him his tray. We had been passing out trays, and everyone was just being as difficult as they could. Okay. They get into it with each other. The guy over in cell 13, he calls me over to him. It was one of those days I was just so fucking done. I went over to him just like, what, man? Okay. Guy's yelling at me. He's hollering at me. He was trying to distract me. I don't know what was going on with Campbell and this other guy. Somehow or another, we had missed feeding some of the cells. A couple of the guys, they were so ruly, we just slammed the bean slot shut and went on down. So we had more. When you got to cell 14, you should have only had 1 tray inside the carrier. All right. At this point, we had about 3 or 4 trays in there. Dudes are just off the chain, silverback gorilla banging in the place. Okay. Him and Campbell are going at it. Campbell uses one of his codes. All right, he walks off. I come over to the guy. I didn't know Campbell had already given him a tray. Okay. I go over to the cell. I'm like, dude, what's going on, man? What's up? Man, Campbell being just a hoe. I can't say the words. Ooh, nope, I can't. I'm gonna get banned on YouTube if I do. It was bad. He goes off. He's calling Campbell everything that he can based on his race. His race was not mine. And he's just going off about him. All right, he's venting to me. I dealt with the guy before. All right, he was short little Hispanic dude. I don't know which STG, security threat group, he was in, but it was pretty bad. I don't know what he was in SEG for, but anybody that was back in there was bad shit. Okay? So guy gets done venting to me, and I get ready to start walking off. He goes, hey, Mr. Carter. Hey, what about my tray, man? What my tray? My tray. Hey, man, I need my food, man. And I looked at him. You didn't get your tray? No, I didn't get my tray, man. Reached down in the carrier. And as I start to put the tray on the slot, Campbell was over at the cell with the guy that I was talking to. He was keeping him busy. Okay. They had already arranged this. The guy wanted an extra tray. I don't remember what was on it, but for some reason he wanted it. This guy was trying to distract us so he could get the extra tray. And he was running his game. And he was doing a damn good job at it. So I go to set the tray on there. Campbell's like, hey, motherfucker, Carter, I already put that tray up. Looked over at him. What? He said, I already fed that guy, man. I looked at it. And as I'm looking, inmate takes the tray and he pulls it in his cell. He looks at me. Got you, boss. Goes back in. And I'm looking through the chicken wire opening. He had reached down on the floor and he's got 2 trays in his hands. And he walks back to his bunk, sits down, gets ready to start eating. And I looked over at Campbell. I don't remember the exact words. I'm going to piece it as best I could. Campbell says, why did you give him that tray? I already gave him a tray. I said, he told me he didn't get a tray. Campbell, in just as much rage as he could get, You think that fucking inmate's gonna tell you the truth? Like, oh, yeah. We yelled back and forth. At this point, we were done. We were yelling at each other. The whole pod could see it. It was a disaster. Basically, what had happened, the guy told me he didn't get a tray, and me not checking to verify, there really wasn't any way I could have verified. I couldn't see down on the floor where it was. I couldn't open the door to see. So here's the situation. All right. Inmate tells me he doesn't have a tray. I don't have a way to check it. What do? Do I walk away and he gets no food whatsoever and spends the whole rest of the day beating and banging that he didn't get his tray? Or do I give him a tray and now he's got two and he got over on us? Keep in mind, I couldn't open the door. I couldn't check it. No matter how many times I ask the inmate, he's going to tell me he didn't get a tray. No matter how many times I ask Campbell, he's going to tell me he gave him a tray. If it were one of our normal days, I'd have trusted Campbell. All right. This would be the last day that he and I would work together. This was leading up to where I was getting ready to resign. All right. It was just getting way too heated in there for me. So, what would you do? Would you give the inmate a tray? Would you take his word that he didn't get fed? Would you take the word of your partner, who you were good coworkers with, on this day you weren't? Would you have gone on about your business? Y'all have heard what I did. I gave him an extra tray. He got over on me. Put yourself where I was. What would you do? Folks, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Hope y'all have a great rest of your day. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care. Carter's out.